Hello, everyone, and welcome to the depressing and unpredictable comic vault. It is I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is Austin, the Day Ghost. We've got a
Hey
twofer
everybody.
for you again. We've got a request slash comic vault. And Austin, what are we talking about tonight?
Curse of the White Knight, the second White Knight book, and I think it's called like the Murphy verse. I saw it like apparently it has its own designation, like its own name like
I
that.
noticed that too, and I was like, why aren't we just calling it the White Knight universe? Like, they all have White Knight in the title. Is Murphy gonna add other things to it that don't have White Knight there? Like,
Maybe. Maybe someday.
I really only understand doing that when things are lots of different titles, but there's one guy doing it. You know?
Like Frank Miller's one.
Yeah, like or like people like to call Buffy verse stuff either Buffyverse or Whedonverse. Like I get that when things have different names,
hmm
but it's odd if we're calling this the Murphyverse. Why aren't we just calling it the White Knight universe? Anyway,
Maybe his next book will be Batman Murphy's Law.
oh, that's good. That's that, and that makes sense because there's a lot of like a lot of bad luck with this Batman. This is a Batman
hmm
that it seems like Murphy's Law is this Batman just can't catch a break, and he's not going to be allowed to do this all that long.
hmm
That's this
Exactly.
that's this Murphy's Law, and that he's destined to both uh, fight against and team up with the Joker.
hmm Yeah,
That's
exactly.
also Murphy's Law. And Murphy's Law also this Murphy his Murphy's Law also seems to be the only Batmobile that matters is the '89 Batmobile. I could get behind that.
Yeah, at least by the end. And it's also a boat.
It's so cool. Well, see, in the first book, I've reviewed the first book years ago with Dan's back on the old Batmosphere show, and we talked about the coolness with all the Batmobiles and just all of his references to Screen Batman stuff in general. And yeah, you've got those cool shots where you've got GCPD and several of the Bat family all driving Batmobiles of different eras. But even there, Austin, the big two-page spread is still the '89 car. That's what Gordon gets to drive, and he's kind of running point on everything. And then in the
Well,
second
Batman
book,
does say that it is the best one.
yeah, I love that moment. And then in the second book, we get a glimpse of some of the other cars in the Batcave, and he's driving like his kind of main White Knight car in various places. Besides that, but the place where you get another giant, awesome two-page spread of the '89 car is like almost exactly where it happens in the first book, like page count wise.
hmm
Like this is the part where the '89 car shows up. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
No, it is great.
This one was requested by James Egan on Patreon. Thanks a lot to him. And as always, quick plug for Patreon and for ReQuest. We still have a backlog, but we're starting to knock these out pretty decently well. So there's still, I don't know, we've still got 14, 15 on the list. But if you don't mind waiting and you really want to get one on there, the $15 tier on Patreon is how you do that. And you can ask for comics, or you can ask for a pilot of a TV show or a film, and we appreciate all the support and everybody that has done that, and everybody that's patiently waiting on this list. But I have been really excited to finally read these, Austin. I bought most of this series. I'm missing issue 6, I think. I've still got to get that one. But I bought most of this issue, or this series rather, in singles at my local comic shop like maybe a month ago. And I knew this was coming, and I was like, "Oh, cool! They've got this whole series." And I have the first one in singles also, so I'm collecting the rest of this slowly but surely. And I think I have like an issue of the Harley Quinn spinoff, and then I have most of Beyond the White Knight now, also, which I've not read yet, obviously, because I just read this for the first time today.
Yeah, and there's also a Mr. Freeze spinoff. It was at the end of my trade, but I was like, I don't think we're reading this.
Yeah, the Mister Freeze one is one issue, but Harley Quinn I think got a whole mini.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know how many issues. I don't know if it's 8 like these, but I think
hmm
it got more than the one issue.
Oh, okay. I just assumed that maybe it's like an extended issue because it seemed like it was pretty long.
So I assumed that it was just one issue also until I looked at the wiki, and it says that White Knight Presents Harley Quinn ran from October 2020 to March 2021, so it's multiple issues,
Oh, okay.
which I didn't know. And then Beyond is another 8. So it
Hmm.
seems like this is basically a trilogy.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, because I think the Harley one is just a flashback to that, like the Jason Todd stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's the cover, at least. It's Harley, and you have like Jason Todd on the bottom. So I assumed that's what it was.
Okay, so basically what we have then is the Arkham trilogy with Origins in the middle.
And
That's
Origins
essentially what
right
they
there.
did.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, there was talk for like forever that the sequel to Night was a Beyond game, and then it was canceled. But I don't know if that was ever confirmed or not.
Oh, interesting. I mean, that could have been cool. That could have been really cool. Because you'd basically get the Batman mechanics and the Batmobile mechanics at the same time. Because you could, I mean, you would be driving, but you could fly around. So that'd be pretty great.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, John Erling put in
Also
a
for the
$1 super
oh,
chat. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. With $1,
mhm,
there's no question or comment. So I just thought I would mention that he gave us $1. Appreciate you, buddy.
mhm. You'd buy that for $1. Dan
And
Schneider's
did.
also in the chat asking if he can
Hi,
put
guys.
in a request as well through super chats.
Yeah, that's fine. $15 super chat. I'll do a request. I typically
Cool.
like to do it for Patreon, but I'll take the occasional special request. And Jan Snyder uh, supports us all the time. It is awesome. So yes, no problem. Um, okay, let's go ahead and get into this. So this was your first time reading the first one too. So you had to pull double duty today. You read 16 issues today. I guess you started the other one last night, maybe.
Yeah, I think I read like the first four issues. Maybe closer to 5 or 6, I guess, maybe over the last 2 days, and then read the rest of it today. I was hoping to not have to read anything but this new one, the second one today. That just didn't work out. But
And I didn't get
uh,
to any of it until this afternoon too, so I also had to kind of blow through it. But luckily, I had read the original before, and like I said, reviewed it and gave it a glowing review several years ago with Dan. I've always wanted to go back to it. I've never reread it, just because I figured it was real rereadable, and indeed it was. And this was just a joy and a pleasure to go through. So I mean, uh, it's not like the fastest read. Sean Murphy puts plenty of words in characters' mouths. I don't think it's overwritten. I just think it's like complicated and characters have a lot of kind of mulling over to do. So it's not really the Snyder thing where they're where your characters, your Batman, your Gordon, your Harley Quinn are like constantly analyzing the work on the page and telling me exactly what it's about. It's just there's a lot of soul searching. So like it's not platitudes so much as just good dialogue driven storytelling. I think.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, it probably helps that he's an artist first,
Hmm.
so he's not coming at it from that like self analytical place.
Yeah, but that's also why it's kind of surprising to me just how talky it is.
Oh yeah, that could easily go to just purely art driven too.
Because there's tons of wonderful action in both of these books, but there's also a lot of conversation and a lot of, I think, good philosophizing and just arguments. A lot of good interpersonal, conflict, moral quandaries, and that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, I would say like action wise, the big thing he clearly loves drawing is just the Batmobile stuff, which is interesting because people always talk about how hard it is to do car action in comics. But that's clearly the thing he likes to do most in terms of that.
Yeah, you're right. That is really interesting. And there's
Hmm.
fisticuffs here and there, but it's not a lot of storyboarding of big fight sequences.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
and kind of more about the like moodiness and atmosphere of shots and stuff. Like I don't think it's funny. These both feel like kind of epic movies to me, but they're not. And so like they're cinematic in the way shots are composed. But they don't do the storyboarding comic thing where you'll go like a couple pages where you don't even really need dialogue. Like I said, it is pretty dialogue driven, but I think it has a pretty good mix where it's still it's still visual enough, and like what you're looking at is interesting and exciting, but it's not that like super action driven. I'm turning the pages super fast. But the reason
What's
I wasn't
also
bored reading
interesting.
16 issues is just because it's all really engaging.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. No, it's interesting too because you're right. Like it is like a slower read because it's very wordy, but there's also no like voiceover. Like there's no caption boxes.
Yeah, which is refreshing, and that's one of the things that you're right does make it feel. I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, there's no captions anywhere,
Mhm.
except for uh, why? I guess
Like
that's not even.
letters.
I was gonna say that's not even caption. You got like Alfred's letter.
Yeah,
That's
it's just letters that we typically get
that's about
like in
it.
caption form, but like that's how you would do that. But outside of that, like there's no like Batman monologue or like a Napier monologue or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I guess makes it feel more cinematic.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. But I think this book's really interesting. I don't know if you had this, Cap, but like the entire time reading it, this felt very much like a sequel you could only get in comics, in that it is purely uh, built around what happened in the last one. And like I think if you were to make this a sequel to a movie, you would like really hammer in like, oh, we got to bring Jack Napier back, like in the first act, and then he like we have a reason for why he's there again. Like we're kind of just dealing with the impact of the last movie, and obviously we have movies that try to do that in franchises, but I find they like we've never really quite nailed that on film yet.
We always go to this comparison with everything, but it's very Empire Strikes Back, I guess. Right? We're like you've it feels like a story that is continuing but didn't necessarily have to. Um, or at least when I first read it, I felt like it was self contained enough. There are a couple of dangling threads at the end that if he gets another book, he could tell us about, but like the story is still contained well enough if you don't have that. But it does feel like retroactively, this is the next act of a thing, even though I didn't
Mhm.
really realize I needed that.
But even more than say like Empire, like I feel like this would be like Empire if one of the like biggest catalysts of the story is like the Death Star just exploded, and we're like just dealing with like the ramifications of that. Like
Yeah, that's
that felt like
true.
so much of this book is like all these things happened last time, and these are all the like cause and effects of what happened there. And obviously this has its own story too with like the Azrael stuff that comes in, but it's so built around just everything that Joker did in the first book that
And
it
it
feels
doesn't.
so much more like that.
Yeah, and it doesn't read like just a like inconsequential aftermath story because it's actually kind of bigger
Mhm.
than the first book ultimately.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and and because like Empire isn't exactly like it's not one for one. That's not exactly the right comparison. But I guess I only said that in that I had this experience of like with Star Wars. That's a story that keeps going, but I wasn't sure it was going to. But the difference is then that's setting up a big cliffhanger and has to now be a trilogy. Back to the Future is kind of like that too. This feels like it could have been a story in two acts,
Mhm.
and then I'm sure when you read Beyond, now it's a full fledged proper trilogy, and there is kind of a cliffhanger at the end. But again, if you didn't get any more, it's not like you'd have such a giant dangling thread that the story's not like the story is finished. There's a setup for a possible third story at the end. It's more that kind of
Yeah,
thing. But it doesn't feel like it's just aftermath.
Well, no, and I agree too. But it made me think of Halloween because Halloween's done this twice now, with Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween Ends, where it's like we want to do like the aftermath story, but it's Halloween, so Michael Myers still has to come back. Uh, it reminded me a lot of that. Like, it's a comic, so you don't have to have that element. Like, this doesn't have to be. And then Jack Napier comes back. Like, we don't have to force a way for that really to happen throughout the whole story. We get a little bit of it. Like, we get like a scene or two, but like that's not really like a major thing in the book. Like, it is more so dealing with that stuff from the first book, and then you have a new villain threat built off of that.
Yeah,
I guess like the main thing I'm
it,
thinking of.
it doesn't feel super calculated.
Hmm.
Like we're afraid this isn't going to sell and that people aren't going to read it. It's handled in as indie a way as you could possibly expect a Batman book to be handled, and it's interesting that it has the black label because a lot of those have been that way. But the first book I think was pre black label, so it's kind of interesting that now we're into black label.
Oh, true. I didn't even think about that. That is funny though. That's similar to you have like a little bit of that with Vertigo. Like the first Vertigo book starts like in issue 3 and is a sequel to a Black Label book.
What are we talking about?
Like the new Vertigo book. Sorry, I like the new Vertigo. Sorry, I should have explained that better.
You just mean like, but like what book in those? Like,
Oh, that's oh my God, what is that book called? Nice House on the Sea, something like that. I think
oh,
is what
okay,
it's called.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like a
I just didn't
like it's
even.
it
I just had
indie
no idea
book.
what they were even publishing. So when you were like,
Oh, okay.
at Vertigo, I'm like, what? Like, what are the books? I don't even know what they're
So,
publishing.
sorry, yeah, no, I couldn't think of the title
I thought maybe we
offhand.
were
I've
talking
read
about
the
some
first one.
Batman
It's
book.
really good,
Oh,
but
okay, cool.
yeah. Sorry, I like did a horrible job explaining that.
Oh, that's okay. I understand. Dan Schneider put in a couple super chats to get to his $15 request, and is asking us to do a '98 movie called Very Bad Things with Jon Favreau and Cameron Diaz. And he says it's really
Okay.
important. Austin is on that one. He needs his reaction specifically. Well, Austin's almost always here,
Oh,
so that should happen.
hmm,
But I'll make sure that he is.
interesting. I don't know anything about this, so you're gonna get a blind reaction.
Well, thanks for that. I will get that on the list, and yeah, just give us a few months because we've still got, like I said, about 15, 16. Uh, Dan, let me just get this in here. Austin, why don't you guys go ahead and give us just the briefest of breakdowns of what happens in the sequel? Hopefully, everybody has read the original.
Hmm.
If they're here looking at this, and feel free to give us the kind of connective tissue, the status quo at the end of that first book into this one.
Yeah, well, that's how I'll start. So we'll get into that. So the last book, of course, ended where Batman's in a rougher place. Joker, who became Jack Napier through drugs, um, kind of outed some issues with him and corruption and the GCPD and just Gotham in general. And that part of him kind of dies off and he becomes Joker again. And we go to like more of a traditional Batman status quo, except all of these things have kind of been brought out. And now the GCPD has vigilantes working with them, which are Batgirl and Nightwing. And then we kind of pick up from there, and the Joker has. So in the first book, or I guess Napier mentions that he became the Joker in Arkham from his cell, and we find out here that that's because there is the original Arkham from Gotham, who was called Laffy Arkham, was
Naturally,
believed to be a
naturally,
vampire,
that's
of
his name.
course. Of course.
And
And
completely
he's basically the
ambiguous.
original Joker.
And completely ambiguous as to whether or not he's a vampire. It could go either way, all the way to the end.
Yeah, I love that you don't actually get an answer to that, but when you see him, he does have vampire teeth, so I assume he has to be because we also get Jason Blood in this, so I assume he just is a vampire.
Well, that's true. Like the fact that you actually do have an immortal in this, and I mean,
Mhm.
this is not at all like super grounded or anything. Like you have a Two-Face-esque Joker that has multiple personalities and is physically transforming when he's in that first book. When he's on his drugs between uh, Jack Napier and the Joker with really no explanation as to why there's a physical transformation. I was like, this is very comic booky in that way. And then here in the sequel, it happens again when Jack Napier is able to just kind of will himself back into existence and push the Joker out. And it is still that physical transformation. So it apparently had nothing to do with the drugs.
Well, and Joker also has one green, one purple eye, and the purple eye has a bat symbol in it, which I assumed was just for one shot in the first book, and then it kept happening. And I was like, oh, that's just what he looks like.
Yeah, there are things like that that I can't tell if they're just for the audience's benefit or if that's actually like when he goes full on Two Face. I don't know if that's what everybody else is seeing or if that's just supposed to be metaphorical.
I assumed that was just like visualizing him transforming, but uh, who knows? It could be.
And Jack's like, it's morphin time.
Exactly. Yeah, so he finds out that there's this big conspiracy in Gotham over the Waynes and Laffy Arkham. And the original Wayne in Gotham is Edmund Wayne, who is just a Belmont, to the point where he
I
fights
didn't even
people
think
with
of
a
that.
bat whip.
That's totally true.
No, and he's introduced and he's fighting a vampire with his whip. I was like, oh, he really wanted to make a Castlevania book.
See, I couldn't stop thinking about the Errol Flynn comparison, and so I didn't end up
Oh,
going
sure,
there.
'cause there is that too.
Because you've got the swashbuckling thing, and then we connect that to Zorro, and we make that the reason that Bruce Wayne wanted to go to the theater the night his parents died because he wanted to learn how to use his father's rapier. So we have like yet another variation on that whole thing with this. But anyway, we'll probably get into that later.
Yeah. Yeah, so Joker's kind of doing this plot to expose this ancient controversy, if you will, and at the
And this
same
seems
time
to
he's
sorry, this seems
hired
to have been his
Azrael.
his kind of end game all along. Like he was always working up to this, I guess.
It was like the final joke, yeah. Like there was nothing else to go after it.
And I guess it makes sense that he would try to do this now after the whole Jack Napier thing, and after he's real insecure about how Jack has kind of in his mind ruined his relationship with Batman and made the city decide that he is almost like Harvey Dent in the Dark Knight movie, like the hero Gotham actually deserves, and like the Joker can't have that, so it's time to jump right to the end now. Was kind of my read on it.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so he brings in John Paul Valley, who of course is Azrael, and he is also connected to this ancient history, and it's this ultimate blood feud between his family and Batman's family that goes all the way back to then, and it's basically just this giant fight for Gotham that has taken place from its very start to now, and over who the ultimate savior of Gotham is, and yeah.
Yeah, I was really not expecting this to turn into just a full-on new interpretation of Nightfall.
No, I also love that this becomes a giant fight between two people over the city, and it's not Joker. We throw Joker away, like even before we get to like the final battle of it all.
Yeah, it's cool. Like he's the catalyst for it, and
Mhm.
he kind of lets Azrael off his leash, and Azrael's got nothing to lose because he's dying of cancer. So like he's, the Joker's got nothing to lose, so he's getting all this started, and then Azrael's got nothing to lose, and so he's gonna take everything down with him, just to prove that his like his family deserves to own Gotham, and that God has chosen him, and he is destined for this. And I saw when I bought these in issues, Austin, I noticed in issue with Azrael on the cover. But I didn't know how important he was going to be to the book. I thought he might just be a supporting character, just a side character. I don't see Azrael and even immediately assume that's going to be the main villain of a story. He's been kind of more Bat Family for so long. He easily could have, because your status quo with Batman in this book is very Arkham in that it's probably more or less, or like background stuff. It's probably more or less main continuity until Sean Murphy comes out and tells you that it isn't, right? So like we've had Jason Todd, but then we learn, oh, he's not actually dead. But everybody,
And he's the first Robin.
oh, that's true too. I forgot about that. So yeah, I mean, he does take a lot of liberties, but you don't know what it is until he brings it up, right? So just seeing Azrael on a cover, he could have been part of the Bat Family. He could have worked with Batman in the past. They could have had Nightfall almost exactly as it happens in the comics, and we're just catching up to it. And in fact, when we first meet Jean-Paul Valley, I did you have this? I wondered if maybe Nightfall hadn't happened already because he's so old.
Yeah, I had the same thing where I was like, "Oh, we're bringing him back," and then I realized, obviously pretty quickly that no, he's being introduced here.
Yeah, and we're basically doing our own kind of interpretation of that now, and that kind of blindsided me because the first story again takes liberties with history, but it isn't straight up adapting a story. And this, of course, does go its own way. Don't get me wrong, but it's got all of the elements of Night, or at least a lot of the elements of Nightfall. Like Jean-Paul Valley can't just come in and fight Batman. He has to become a Batman because we haven't done Nightfall, and you've got to get Bane in there, even though he's only going to be there for a couple pages and die right away, which is kind of an amusing gag. But a lot of it is in there. So, how did you feel about that, Austin? Like the first story isn't really riffing on a story like this one is.
Hmm. Well, I feel like he played Arkham Knight and was like, "Wait a minute, what happened to all that Azrael setup? This sucks. I'm gonna go do it myself."
That's great.
But yeah, no, I didn't expect that at all. But I thought it really worked for this, especially because it's so different. Like, it
Hmm.
doesn't just feel like, I really like Nightfall, so I'm gonna do it. It's just like, oh, the Asbat suit is pretty cool. I want Azrael to be my main villain, and uh, it very much felt like he went, okay, the Court of the Owls like the big thing now, but this other thing is kind of that before it. So I'm gonna go back to that because that's the stuff that I grew up with.
Yep.
Like that's the stuff I care about.
Yeah, I had that too. So it's like you're gonna have this big mystery about the early days of Gotham and the first families and all of that. And there's gonna be like a big conspiracy behind all of it with an elite group that's been like lurking in the shadows uh, and kind of running everything like we have with Court of the Owls. But
Hmm.
that really played like it was the first time we'd done it, and it wasn't. And like I don't dislike Court of the Owls. There's cool stuff in that, but I think a lot of people read that having not experienced that in Batman before. But we had done that,
Right before
and Morrison had done it
during
just before
and
that.
during,
Yeah,
because I think the
with
Leviathan stuff
Leviathan.
is happening at the same time.
Yeah, it was. But nobody cared about that anymore because New 52 kind of wiped it away, which wasn't fair to Morrison. So he had to
Mhm.
complete that whole thing in a new continuity.
Mhm. Yeah. No,
Didn't
exactly.
make a
So
lot of
it
sense,
just kind of
but
felt like that's the birthplace of what Azrael is in this book.
I it just like I have a giant bias because it tickles all my sensibilities. Like I feel like Sean Murphy is just getting in my head and writing a book for me. And I had that with the first book, and I really had it with this. Because, of course, he loves a lot of the screen stuff I do. He's going to a lot of Batman animated series in the first book and a lot of 89. All of his tentpole hallmarks are my favorite things. And then you get into this, and it's Azrael Batman, which like we said, I wasn't expecting at all. It's a lot of my favorite things. Repackaged in really fresh and uh, like difficult to call kinds of ways, which was exciting. One of the reasons I like that he goes to Azrael with this is it just gives it a different flavor from the first book. Like he is wrapping up or he's paying off a lot of things that he set up in that first book. And again, some stuff that on first read I wasn't even really looking for answers to, but I guess I should have been, because you get to the end and Alfred's like, "There's this box that I left for you. You should go open that." And then he doesn't do that in the first book. Sean Murphy seems really confident that book is going to do well to get another one. Like, the man is writing and drawing this. To my knowledge, hadn't really been given the keys to a thing like that before, and he's got the audacity to set up stuff at the end. Like, maybe he had a contract for some reason to already have a sequel. I sort of doubt it.
Maybe because by that point it's like the last issue, so maybe by that point,
Maybe it was selling so
um,
well that he snuck that in. Maybe he hadn't even decided to do that yet. That's possible.
yeah, like it is possible that he kind of reworked the ending for that stuff. Because I had a bunch of questions at the end of the first book, and I was like, it's weird that there's all these dropped threads,
Yeah.
and then I started this book, and it's like, oh, well, there we go. Now it just feels like one whole ongoing book. Like this is just the second arc.
Yeah, it's cool. I cuz
Mhm.
but in almost like an Earth One kind of way, because they have their own flavors to some degree. Uh, and that's what was really fun about it to me. Like the emphasis is real different on this one when it's getting into like legacy and history and religion. It's also a lot more Bruce Wayne focused than the first book is. He gets kind of lost intentionally until the last couple issues, where you're not even sure if you can root for him, and then you come to understand how self-aware he is about his own mistakes and knows that he's kind of lost himself and he's trying to find his way back and see if he still has a soul. And so by this book, it's him paying for all of that and trying to decide, A, have I made things worse in my crusade against the villains in Gotham, and B, will I make things worse with my plan to make them better in outing myself, which he says he's going to do at the end of the first book, and then this is kind of all about that. In some ways, it's kind of like the Batman Begins to Dark Knight thing handled a lot better, where you get to the end of Begins and you have that dropped idea of maybe I won't have to wear the mask forever, and then you get into Dark Knight and make it all about that. This kind of does that.
Hmm. Well, that's part of what made this feel so much like an aftermath to me is that our protagonist of the first book isn't even in this. And that's
Yeah,
in no other medium would you do that. Like
yeah, that's a really
he's
good point. I'm trying to think of an example where that happens, and nothing's immediately coming to me. But you're right. Like, we've kind of passed the torch, but like all the supporting characters, or a lot of the supporting characters are the same, and like it's all about Batman, but he's not. You're right. I mean, I guess you could see Jack Napier as the main character of the first book.
Mhm.
I see it more as it really is uh, Batman's story, because he does have an arc, but like we're not really allowed to be with him and get in his head much until we get to the end and we know what he's really about, and so like we're kind of more with Jack through a lot of it.
Mhm. Well, that's what I like about the first one is that it sets up all of these ideas that are a lot of just like talking point things. Like I could see, I like- So I think the strength of the first book is that you have to trust it. Like it throws all the stuff at you right away that you could easily be like, I don't really like this. Like this sounds like somebody who doesn't know anything about Batman just rambling. And you just have to trust that it's going to get to a point where you go, oh, okay, no, it's not as one-sided as it looked. And I think that's really cool. Um, but I do think that is a big part of that first one is that it is Jack Napier's story. It is his book. He's just not right about everything from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't exactly looked at it like that. I mean, like White Knight is arguably about him, or it's about Harley Quinn. They kind of play a card at the end that
Hmm.
that it's like the title is more about her. But then when you get into this, when it's the curse of the White Knight, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. That it's just Harley Quinn. So like thematically, in its way, like she ultimately is the White Knight in the sense that uh, she had sort of a master manipulation plot to get the whole thing going so that Batman and Joker wouldn't kill each other in the first place. There's a big revelation at the end of the first book that she's actually the catalyst for all of that. And so I think there's kind of a neat ambiguity about who the White Knight is, but the whole thing is about um, the consequences of Batman's actions, and he certainly has in a through arc all the way through the first and the second book.
Yeah, and I think that title also works with the aftermath thing, and that it's, this is the curse put upon by that first book by
Yeah,
White Knight.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know. That is such just a fascinating thing to me about this book. Uh, because going into this, I was like, okay, we're gonna have White Knight, and then because we always do this, it got popular, so here's the sequels and the spin-offs and all this stuff,
That's how I always
and
looked
then
at it, having not read
he's not
this.
even in this book. If
And
you look at it as the Jack Napier thing, and Harley is a supporting role, if you want to look at it from her perspective, but she's not a major character either.
and also, yeah, and like the fake Harley is the actual villain of the first piece.
Hmm. Yeah, and she's referenced once, but
Yeah, and
not
so
in this at all.
I like she's more consequential to that, and then with this, it's not like she's the driving force behind everything. She almost becomes more of like Batman's sidekick,
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
and she becomes like the
Oddly,
big advocate for Batman, which was
mhm.
a direction and a take I liked a lot. There's a lot of character directions with this that I'm just impressed that Murphy could get me to. A lot of ideas that under a less competent pen would have seemed just like really bad ideas. And I feel like he's doing to a lesser degree kind of that absolute thing of here are things on paper I would never want to see done, and he wins me over on all of them.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely.
like coming up with a way to redeem the Joker, like it almost feels like you take a laundry list of things you should never do in Batman and go, yeah, but can I make it work? Where you're like, uh, you're doing a check on the on my you can make anything work, you just have to make it work rule, right? So he goes, okay, redeem the Joker. Can we do that? Check. Have a Joker that like 89 has an identity everybody knows already instead of the ambiguous background thing that most everybody wants. We'll make him actually Jack Napier. Check. Like a Harley Quinn, then also stuff that we try all the time that typically doesn't work, like the more heroic Harley Quinn, and the less psychotic Harley Quinn. Like he wins me over on all of that stuff.
Hmm. Well, Harley's one of my favorite things in the book. Just the idea that Arlene Sorkin Harley and modern Harley are different people.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful.
And I find her to
Um,
be a really sympathetic character. My only complaint with her, particularly in the second book, is I feel like Murphy is a little bit inconsistent uh, with the ditzy thing. because she's
Hmm.
typically not written that way at all with him. I where it's almost like she's grown and matured and evolved past it, and then occasionally he'll just for a panel or two with a way she's reacting to something kind of bring us back to that, and I can't decide if that's in her character anymore, like to still be as like fun and silly and ditzy, and just occasionally she'll go back to it, and I can't decide if it's regressing for a second just to remind us who that character is or not, but that didn't always play for me.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I think it just being visual probably helps. Like it's just visual tics that a person would have as opposed to just how she's acting. But
Yeah, it's more
I
just
can see where
lines
you
of
come from.
lines of dialogue, just occasionally.
Oh, okay.
Like not
Yeah.
badly written, just I don't know if this version
If she
says
would still
this
talk like
anymore.
that.
Yeah, I don't know if the Harley Quinn that has like gone through everything with Jack and who we've established, I never liked the Joker persona and knew that there was like a good person under there and has delivered twins now. I doesn't really feel like that character anymore, and it's very minor. There's only a couple of moments like that, but
Hmm. No,
not
that's
a
fair.
not a lot of holes I can poke in this. I mean, this is
Hmm.
overall quite good. And then another thing that I get real sick of is uh, just overcomplicating like Batman's origin or the background of Gotham. And that's another place where he wins me over pretty well on it, just because it's all real interesting and it's it's somewhat convoluted, although I think the Joker's plot around it is the most convoluted thing about it. Just that he would have this like grandiose idea that that Batman we'll get into this, but that finding out that Bruce isn't like actually a blood related Wayne is not only like just ironically the funniest thing he can think of because Bruce like Batman is supposed to be the savior of Gotham and his money comes from corruption and evil and all of that, but is the thing that creates the Joker persona like as a multiple personality. Like Joker was born in that moment. He learns about this and it almost reads to me like that's what gives him a break from reality and turns him into a crazy person. I because we get flashbacks with Jack, who looks like a completely sane person until he learns this, and that all read a little bit far fetched and convoluted to me. But the actual backstory about uh, the Jean Paul Valley ancestor, I forget his name, and the Wayne ancestor, and of course we find out ultimately, almost like Spider-Man Clone Saga, that they're flipped. Uh, and we can talk about that in a bit. But like all of that stuff, I ultimately found really interesting and compelling because every time he threw a new monkey wrench in it, where like there's twist after twist with that stuff, I kept buying it, and I kept buying that people thought it was what they thought it was until we get the revelations.
Hmm. Yeah, same here, and I never expected it to go as far as it does. Through just a lot of this book, where it's like, oh, we're really doing stuff. Like this is its own world.
Something I like about the way uh, Murphy likes to plot his stories, Austin, is he'll get into a pattern that will make you think you know where he's going, and then it's like he's playing three-dimensional chess where he knows that you have an expectation now, and so
Hmm.
then he'll crank it in a different direction. So first book to second book, something he likes to do a lot of is uh, throw a character under the bus for a minute and then find out it's not actually as bad as you thought it was. And he does this in the first book with the Wayans, where we think it's like Telltale Batman for a minute, where maybe the Waynes were actually involved in some real corrupt, crazy crap, and then it turns out that they weren't. And then in this book, we find out that their money has been being used by evil elites, not to their knowledge at all. And then in the first book, we also do it with Mr. Freeze, where for a while we think he's a Nazi, and then it turns out it was his father was a Nazi. And so then you get into this book, and we go, maybe the 1600s Wayne ancestor murdered someone in cold blood. Oh no, he didn't actually do that. We can't, just like with Bruce Wayne's actual parents, we can't let a Wayne ancestor be that evil. So now it's in self-defense. Oh wait, it wasn't even who we thought it was the whole time.
Yeah, because the other one, who's Bakar, we find out that he
That's his name.
Killed Edmund Wayne and took the Wayne fortune and changed. Like, he became the Waynes.
Yes,
and they're all a descendant from that guy. That's wild stuff.
yeah, it's pretty cool. One thing I wanted to ask you, Austin, is, and I think I know the answer to this, but I think this is a worthwhile conversation to have. How much of this do you think Murphy, in both of these books, could have gotten away with if it was mainline continuity?
Ooh, okay.
Like, does
That's a
this
hard
whole
question.
thing have to be Elseworlds or a different universe like it is?
You probably would have to rework it, but you probably could have done some form of Joker going Saiyan. I don't know if he could have gotten away with 2 Harleys in the main continuity. That's a hard question. I would accept that.
If Jeff Johns can get away with 3
They are different
Jokers,
characters. They are different characters. But
no, they just straight up are different characters.
mhm. Um, you couldn't do the family thing. I don't. Maybe you could. I think people would be pissed, and that would probably get retconned in like 2 years,
It would.
anyways. So, like, even if you did it,
See, the reason I'm of two minds about it is I go there's a lot of like retroactive choices he's making in again like complicating the backstory and giving us yet another new like origin for Gotham and doing the early families and all of that. And in this case, saying Bruce Wayne is not even a Wayne in the first place, and I'm like, I'm liking this in an alternate continuity in a way I probably wouldn't in a main book. But then when you look at precedent, we do this kind of crap all the time in main continuity. Like I haven't, I didn't read the Zdarsky stuff besides like a couple of issues. But he did some like monkeying with Origin, and I can't remember what exactly he did. I think he gave like Bruce a brother he didn't know about, and like random crap like that. But like we're constantly going back and reworking the Origin, and then somebody else will come in and they'll retcon that, and so this feels less convoluted and obnoxious because it isn't mainline, but the writing is so good that I just wish whenever we monkey with all that stuff in mainline, it reads as well as this does.
yeah, because Morrison does that with Thomas Wayne at the beginning of his run, but then I think that becomes something else, and then there's like kind of a brother thing in Court of the Owls, and I'm actually not sure about Zdarsky. There might be something there too, but yeah, we typically go, maybe.
And then obviously by the end of this book, we've gone so far afield that yes, you couldn't do it in mainline continuity without having to, completely start Batman over. But when you get to the end of the first book, we haven't changed like so much yet that it couldn't have more or less been a mainline continuity thing, I guess. Like you've got Batman saying he's going to tell everyone that he's Batman, but like he hasn't done that yet, and we don't actually we haven't killed off the Joker yet. Like all the big you've changed status quo beyond repair stuff happens in this, and that's ignoring the reinventions that we were talking about earlier with Jason Todd being the first Robin and all of that. But if you forget about
Yeah.
that stuff and you just talk about like what has actually been messed with beyond repair at the end of the first book, reworked a little bit, that could have almost been mainline continuity.
Yeah, I feel like the big thing you would rework from that is the cop stuff, just in terms of Dick Grayson was a cop for a bit in the comics, so you could
Right.
have just had him be like the one that like gets all the vigilantes to be part of the police force. Is like, oh, I already did this. Like, you could have had something with that if it were main continuity.
Yeah, that's a good call. And I had that thought. I was like, it's kind of fun seeing Nightwing in a mask put on a cop outfit
Hmm.
because he's
Especially
some
with Barbara.
yeah, he sometimes just is a cop.
No, I thought especially with Barbara because obviously her dad. Um, but then they're interesting too because they flip in this book, where she's the more wide-eyed one about Batman, and Dick is very mad about Bruce in the first book, and then we flip them in this one, and I
Yeah,
think it's really natural.
that's a good point. Well, and Gordon's relationship with Batman through this whole thing is really interesting, and what we ultimately do with him is just ultra sad. And
Mhm.
I didn't see that coming at all. Because this is out of continuity. I mean, this goes without saying. But knowing that Murphy can do whatever he wants to, and not knowing how much more of this he's going to write, I it feels like the stakes are higher than it would if it was mainline, and you just never know like who's going to live and who's going to die. But I like it's not always just about like will characters live, but like we could do literally anything with them. So like yeah, Batman might out himself, and what are the repercussions going to be of that? If you do that in mainline, it's going to get retconned in 6 months.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Uh, but yeah, I think because that first book, it ends in a way where we're getting, more close to just like a status quo again. It really shocked me how far away we got from that with this one.
Yeah, I he he just goes to the nines with this. Pulls out all the stops. Like he's not scared of anything.
No, there's a point where I'm like, oh, no wonder the third book is beyond. I don't know if
Yeah,
there's going to be any pieces left at the end of this.
yeah, I had that too. Um, and he's like he's not scared of doing anything with these characters, but he's also not like afraid of hurting anybody's feelings when it comes to like social things and politics, and I like he just he plays with um a lot of different ideas in really smart ways, and he's not worried about offending anybody. It's just really refreshing,
Hmm. Yeah,
and like especially in
absolutely.
the first book, but here too.
See, I was gonna say, I feel like, especially in this one,
Yeah.
like there's some moments where I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of surprised that you said that."
Oh, you know what? Yeah, there's a joke here, especially the Joker has, where I'm like, wow, that's I'm surprised editorial let him do that. I
Yeah, especially after the Batman Damned controversy.
yeah, in a Black Label book.
Mhm.
But no,
Yeah.
Joker has when he sees Harley for the first time after she's had or just before I guess she delivers her twins, he has an abortion joke that I could not even believe was in this book.
Yeah, where he asks Batman if he has any bat coat hangers. And I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, I wasn't gonna even bring up what the joke was, but yeah, God,
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, damn." But yeah, no, he's definitely not afraid of any of that. He just lets the characters talk the way they would talk.
yeah, like I said, it's real character driven, so it doesn't feel like there are political ideas here, but I say refreshing because I couldn't tell you for sure how Murphy himself feels about anything. I feel like he will play all sides of issues, and it doesn't feel like he is using characters as like a mouthpiece for anything, uh, which has sometimes been a problem in modern comics.
Yeah, I feel like I know which way he lands in the first book, and then in this one, but not in like a oh you're pandering way. Just like I feel like this is probably where you stand. Um, and then in this one,
That's fair.
yeah, just
I
kind
may be
of.
being overly charitable when I say that, but my point is more
Well,
just
I don't
like you
mean that
said,
in a
he's
negative
not
way.
pandering,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
nice.
No, I think he does a good choice. Good job of. I know I combined words. Good job of giving people their own voice in all this stuff. In this one, I thought much more so, where it just kind of didn't really matter. But this one's also a lot less political than the first book is, to be fair,
Yeah.
too. Mhm.
But still a really nice balance of uh, some really heavy, serious stuff and fun over the top comic storytelling.
Mhm.
This guy has a perfect sense of how to make a comic uh, escapist and about stuff all at the same time.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I think he's got a really good handle on that. And I agree in that he feel like this book especially is very heavy. But then we also get those moments where it's like, oh, this is just cool.
Yeah. And so it never stops
Mhm.
being fun. And it'll hit you
Yeah,
sideways and
exactly.
it'll hurt your feelings in all the right ways. And then you'll turn the page and you'll get an epic shot of Azrael in his Azbat suit.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And I
Or
just,
Azrael decapitating band, and
yeah,
yes.
I felt very at home with all of this. I no, I knew that Austin would be very excited about Azrael immediately taking Bane out. Uh, the woman that hires him, who's sort of your Amanda Waller in this, she brings in Bane, and she's like, "Hey Azrael, you're running rogue, and you're not doing what we told you to. So we're gonna bring in this mercenary." And I was like, mercenaries are all the same. I know what to do with this guy." And then Bane's like, and then he goes up to one of Bane's tubes and he pulls it, and Bane's like, "Yes, those are theirs, so that you'll go after them." And he's like, "Oh, well then I'll just take your head off." It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I've had, recently,
And then he immediately proceeds to murder Batman's entire rogues gallery.
and he starts with my two favorite Batman villains, so that made me sad. But,
But
but
you
no,
really
I've
get a
had,
sense of the mission statement with this, where this whole thing, and this is partly why I feel like you're not wrong with the self-contained story, with the first book, that it is Jack Napier's story, except I still feel like it's kind of dual protagonist. But this whole thing is about the end of Batman. And I don't think I fully realized that until we get into this book. But retroactively, this whole thing is Batman is not a sustainable concept.
mhm. No, it all tracks by the end. It reminded me of Imposter in that way too.
Oh, good call. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which I need to read again because we loved that, and it's just been a while.
Yeah, that's a fantastic book. Also Black Label.
But yeah, when I was asking how much of this you could get away with mainline continuity, I think I just had that in my mind because uh, main Batman has been not great overall for so long, and will try like big sweeping status quo changes to try to keep interest. So that was kind of just an academic exercise. But the more I think about it, like the whole point of this is, uh, what would the end game be? What would Batman look like if it wasn't forced to have a sliding timeline and go on forever? Like it's almost like one of those Marvel The End books where what is the inevitable conclusion of Batman? Like one of the things I really appreciate about this is how mortal and human Bruce Wayne is. This does not have the I'm Batman problem, like at all. Uh,
Mm,
he there's and it's not just what are his physical limitations. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, there's only so much of this he's going to be able to take, and there's only so much of the yin yang Joker nonsense that he's going to be able to take. And I really appreciate that that guy has a breaking point, which, by the way, is what Nightfall was all about.
mhm. Yeah, no, very true. Um, there was something you said like right before that that I was about to
I'm
bounce
sorry,
off
I
of.
threw a lot at you there.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. No, I think like in a way. Oh, that's you know what? It just hit me again. Okay, I got it. Because you said to me before we did this, that he could have just had the main book, and I think in that way, this almost feels like um when a writer on the main book gets to do their ending in Black Label, like we did this with Snyder, and I think
Yeah.
Tom King's like Catwoman Batman book, I think is also that to an extent. And I guess it's probably just those two that have gotten to do that so far, but um, like it almost in a way kind of feels like that. Except obviously we're also changing things, so it's not entirely that. But like if you were to have a main run, this would kind of be like an ending, I guess.
Well, and there's so much with this that's pretentious fan fiction if it's written poorly. It only works because this guy really knows what he's doing, and it's so character driven. I always roll my eyes when somebody comes in and does their kind of fan fiction thing with I'm gonna kill the Joker, and this guy gets away with it.
Hmm. Oh, we get it with Azrael too, so it's
Yeah,
like that's one of those big things where I'm like, only in comics, just Joker just get taken out anticlimactically like way before the ending, and then and I'm not complaining about that. I think it works for the story, but uh, then the big battle over the city is Batman and Azrael, and that is where we do the big like, oh, is he gonna kill him or not thing, and Joker's just no longer there anymore, even though he is, like I said, protagonist, co-protagonist to the first book, and then sets this book up, and then that's just kind of it.
yeah. Well, and Jack kind of has his last hurrah where he's a very um a tragic character in that the medicine is too dangerous to take now, and Joker's too powerful. He's not going to be able to continue taking the body over, and now he's like he's had children with Harley Quinn. He's like the stakes are higher. He's got every reason to want to continue, and I like the
Mhm.
plot point that the Joker tries to kill Harley and her children to give him no incentive to live. That's really
Mhm.
good. And once Murphy has said everything he has to say about a character, he takes him off the board. Uh, like the Joker is, like I said earlier, the initial catalyst of this piece, and because he's so important in the first story, and because he's the Joker, you just expect, like you said, that he'll come up with some excuse to keep milking that, and we'll have some big epic showdown with Joker at the end of this. You really don't expect it to necessarily, at least for the beginning, to be Azrael at the end. Although the further I read, the more I thought Azrael was probably the actual big bad of this piece.
Well, I think too, just because of, like the titular White Knight thing, I'm like, surely it's going to wrap around again, and he's going to become much bigger in this.
Yeah. I guess I wasn't as surprised when he was taken out than as you were, but I was surprised it happened as early as it did.
So like going into that scene, I was like, okay, he's going to die,
Yeah,
but I wasn't keeping track of issue numbers. and in my trade it doesn't tell you what issue is
Oh, but I was
which.
reading it in singles, so I knew exactly where we were.
So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I must be like at the end of this book.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, and
So
then it keeps
then,
going.
yeah, so like going into that scene, I'm like, oh, he's gonna die. Like that's the only way this goes. And then when the book keeps going for like two or three more issues after that, that's what I was surprised by.
Well, I was seeing so much of a just flat out Nightfall adaptation in this that I'm like, well, you've got to have a big Bruce Wayne Asbat showdown at the end. That's gonna be all about the mantle of Batman and what that character stands for and what that is continuing. And then here, like it's really intelligent to do that in again this out of continuity piece where you can change anything you want to and Batman's going to out himself because you have this big kind of thematic what's the word I'm looking for? I like kind of identity thing. I with like what is the point of Batman? What does I like? Is it the Dark Knight thing where Batman is just whatever the city needs him to be? That's ultimately what Bruce kind of comes down on with it, and so it makes a lot of sense to have this big showdown with a arguably like good Batman and bad Batman with this kind of question of was Batman ever a good idea? Right before Batman's going to give up that mantle, and it's not just going to turn right back into regular status quo. Bruce is back in the suit, and I guess he's not burnt out anymore, and now he can continue because the book has to keep going. And so,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of neat to get to see a Nightfall where Bruce is done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the actual end. Well, that's another way in which it felt kind of Arkham Knighty to me, and just handled a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like the way Batman gets outed in that game's pretty dumb.
Oh, I totally forgot that he gets outed in that.
hmm Yeah, because there's that whole thing where like he then dies at the end
It's a
after he's
it's a
outed, and then he
crap
becomes
story, man. It doesn't stick with me.
then he becomes a shadow creature,
Oh my
and
god,
then
I forgot about that. It's all coming back.
he formed the Justice League, and then Brainiac took over, and we
What?
we don't talk about that though.
You said you saw retroactively quite a bit of the Batman in this.
Yeah, and throughout the whole book, I was like, okay, surely this is a big thing that Reeves was reading. Because when does this come out?
This
This
comes
is
out in
what?
20.
Oh, okay. So I didn't realize it was that late. Okay,
Yeah.
for some reason I thought it was much earlier than that. Okay, so it can't be then.
No, this comes out in 20. I didn't think so either, but I thought that there were some really interesting coincidences.
Mhm.
But yeah, this comes out in 2020 because the first one is 17.
Okay, so the first one then is exactly where I thought it was,
No,
and
this starts in July of 19. It ends in 2020.
oh, okay. When I was thinking about it more with the first one than this one, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Um, but I thought the first one was 17, and that's when Matt Reeves starts writing that movie. So I don't know, I still kind of feel like that. I have that less with the second one. There is the flood thing, but the flood I think also comes from Zero Year.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even thinking, oh, he was definitely looking at that specifically.
Yeah, I just thought it was pretty crazy after all the parallels you were mentioning to the Batman that then you get to the end and Arkham or Azrael is going to try to flood the city like his ancestor did,
hmm
or like I guess
No,
Bruce's
that is great.
ancestor did.
Yeah, Bakar.
What do you think of that as a plot point? Like I know we've been talking a lot about in continuity versus out of continuity, but like just forgetting that whole discussion. Are you okay with any iteration of Batman where Bruce Wayne is not like Blood A Wayne? I Because I thought that was really well handled. I thought the idea that it ultimately doesn't matter, kind of really kind of plays and
Yeah.
the kind of nurture like wins out over nature completely.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, especially because it would be a big deal if like he wasn't related to Thomas and Martha Wayne. Like then I would be like, okay, I'm crying foul on that.
I
But
agree. But you have 300 years of ancestry where they all think they're Wayans.
yeah, like it happened in the 1600s. Like I don't care if that happened in Mainline. Well, especially because for me, I find we go so over the top with like the Wayne's importance a lot of the times.
And this does
Uh,
too.
yeah, but then it also ultimately that doesn't matter. Like that's part of the point.
Yeah.
So like yeah, that doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, it's
But like
ultimately your whatever you make of yourself. And
yeah, because even like if you were to just say like okay, like how far back should the Wayne's wealth go? Like I'm fine with Thomas and Martha being like self-made billionaires. Like I don't even need
me too.
that to be like a lineage thing that's carried on.
Well, that was a
I'm
reservation I had, is that there's kind of too much lineage. And that's another thing that I feel like this maybe is able to cheat on that a little bit in a way I wouldn't like it in Mainline. But I do have reservations on that, where both Batman and the Joker are kind of. There are things that predate them that give them all their ideas.
I'm glad that Joker isn't actually an Arkham because you could have taken it like way too far with that, and they're literally the three descendants.
Yeah, that's true. Or you could
I think
even
it helps you
made
don't have that.
you could even made like Bakar actually the Joker's ancestor.
Hmm.
You could have really
Well,
monkeyed
because
with it. You could have had all three of them flip around.
yeah, I
They're
mean we've
playing
made
musical
Martha and
chairs with
Arkham
they're playing
before,
musical
so
chairs with their DNA. Oh, that's a good point.
Bruce could have just been the Arkham, yeah. No, and I think that works like for Joker because like he's like made from Arkham. Like I don't know, I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hmm.
But
But yeah,
that is a thing I always kind of question, where it's like, do we need a legacy for these characters where other characters in their lines, like everything is predestined, and that always feels like a goofy TV thing to me, where
mm,
like the Smallville Jarrell thing, where you have to have somebody in a character's line that kind of did too much of their stuff first, or gave them all of their ideas. They can't come up with anything originally themselves. Not that this goes that far with like bats and stuff. It doesn't do that whole thing.
well, you know what drives me the most insane is, and it's back in continuity, which is, I think it comes from John Byrne originally, which is that the explanation for like Golden Age Wonder Woman is that Hippolyta was originally Wonder Woman, and like that sucks. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That to me is the worst example of that. But yeah, for this, I think it works because it's an Elseworld. Like I also wouldn't want this in main continuity. Like that all three of these characters go all the way back.
Um. No, you're absolutely right about that. So it at least doesn't take it too far.
Well, the funniest thing in this is just that Edmund Wayne, who is a Belmont, uses a whip that is made of bat leather.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's true. So I guess we do have an early bat thing, but at least it's not like Bruce getting the idea of bats from that. But then there's uh, that kind of destiny question of, okay, I guess Waynes have to always have something to do with bats. And then you always get into
I both
the,
like laugh,
is that
laughed
just
and
silly
rolled my
comic stuff
eyes.
question? It's always hard to say what the standard should be with certain things in comics, where it's like,
Yeah.
it's sort of like names, like last names that reflect uh, character traits or character motifs, where it's like we do cutesy fun things like that in comics and get away with it. And at what point have you crossed a line over into its uh, like it's predestined, and you're taking something away from a character in order to do it?
Hmm. Oh, I will say with the legacy thing, because this is the type of thing that I think we all kind of roll our eyes at a lot. Uh, but I don't know, it worked for me here, which is that like the origin for the Valley name for John Paul
I
Valley.
loved that though.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really cool. Where he is, of course, originally a descendant of the Waynes,
And
and
doesn't know it.
no, doesn't know it. But Jason Blood. Sorry, I was thinking. I'm like, what is his first name again? Jason Blood. Uh, who is Etrigan? He takes him as a baby, or no, not him, but like his descendant as a baby, the son of Edmund Wayne, and like pulls them aside and changes his last name to Valley because it's like the Gotham Valley, which is what they like were fighting for originally, and what Edmund Wayne was supposed to own when he and Bakar took over Gotham. I thought that was a really cool detail.
Yeah, it's just thoughtful and believable, and you don't need a explanation for that name necessarily, but it doesn't feel cheap or anything. It doesn't feel forced. It's not like,
Mhm.
oh, Valley, that's a stupid name. We need some kind of an explanation for it. Like, it doesn't read like that. It
Well, it
reads
could
more
so
like
easily be like the Han Solo thing.
well, in fact, yeah. In fact, the way it read to me is, Murphy almost overthinking it in an interesting way, where like, would the name Valley be there in the 1600s? Like, that sounds like a more modern name. So like, where does that come from? Like, a lot of names like that are just names of like a place or an object or something, or uh like decided upon at some point
Hmm.
by a family that changes their name. And so it's kind of neat that there's an etymology to it.
Hmm.
I don't know. He really won me
Yeah.
over with that.
Hmm. No, Sam, I thought that was really cool.
I feel like Murphy is challenging. We were talking about ideas that on paper are maybe kind of bad or could be really bad. That he's playing around with and see if he can get away with it. I feel like he's challenging some real modern criticisms of Batman with this. Like the idea that you can't relate to Batman because he's too rich. And a lot of people have the idea these days that there just are no rich people that are altruistic and would be out for the little guy, or would really want to help anyone but themselves. And so he goes, well, let's really play that out. Like, people think sometimes that if Bruce really wanted to help the city, he would just give all of his money away. So let's actually tell a story where that happens, and play that out. And it doesn't feel like him making that same statement. It feels like him going, "Okay, this is a thing people have complained about and want to see. Can I get away with that in a story?" That's how that reads to me.
When also one of the big twists in that first book was that he was giving his money to the city. It was just like the
Yeah,
funds weren't being handled properly,
no, that's right. But I like
which
that
is one
he's
of the big
playing.
like the Batman things for me.
I like that he's playing both sides of and when I say playing, I just mean he's looking at it from different perspectives. Of the kind of social political issue there, where you get to the end of the book and you have some people that are complaining that he's not doing enough, even when he's giving away all of his money, which is exactly what would happen.
Yeah,
So
that
I
was
don't
a
think
really
that's
nice touch.
yeah, I don't think that's it. Like you're hearing it's sort of Spider-Man in that way, where you're getting all of the different opinions. Like
A very
nobody
Dark Knight Returns.
nobody's gonna agree on this.
Hmm.
Like but I just mean like some people are gonna love it, or gonna love him. Some people are gonna hate him.
Hmm. Well, it reminded me specifically of Dark Knight Returns, like where you have the cutaways to the news where they're debating, is Batman right or wrong, and we're getting like both sides of it.
Yeah, of course.
He's kicking all the right butts. I hope it comes from my landlord next.
Oh yeah, remember that? But yeah, I didn't feel like there was any like cynicism or like bashing of the character in dealing with the wealth the way he deals with it.
Well, I really like the moment where because we find out by the end that the elites uh, basically just was Bruce Wayne. Like it was like his money
Yeah.
that was being like misappropriated, and it's actually because I had that thought maybe like halfway through because there's a line where he's talking to Ruth, who is the one that was like a lawyer that was handling that money, and she says, I have all these clients, and their reach is so far that they don't all necessarily know that they're my client.
Yeah, that was a great
So
payoff for that. And then it turns out
I
that
was
Batman
like,
is one of those.
okay, that is set up
Did you
because
call
Bruce
that?
Wayne is going to be one. Yeah,
Yeah.
not in that moment. I called it later, where I was like, wait a minute, like we set that up for a reason that he's going to be one of them. But then it turns out he's basically the only client because her client list is just a bunch of different companies all under Wayne, and they're like, well, how didn't you notice this? How did you not notice this? And he's basically like, well, all of my time goes to beating people up. Like I
Yeah,
don't have
I'm not
time to
paying
go
attention
through
to my. Well,
all
and
of my money.
that's one of the places where I really appreciated the mortality of the man, where this
Mhm.
isn't a Batman like you get sometimes with the Justice League, where you go, how in the world does he have time to pay attention to like everything that's happening all the time? Like you can never sneak up on him, even from space. Like, Batman always knows everything that's going on, and he must have a 150-hour day while everybody else has 24 hours. And this is a Batman that is like pushing himself to the limits and is impressive and is able to do more in a day than you and I could probably do in a month, but is still feels like a man with mental limitations.
Well, I feel like I even did a disservice to like the actual line because I feel like you could listen to that and be like, oh, well, it's still making a point of he's just beating people up. But I think what really works is the line almost specifically is, I come home, I like clean the blood off my suit, stitch myself back up, but I never actually have time to heal. Like,
Yeah,
I never
that's
have
great.
those downtime moments, and yeah, that like very specific wording I think is really cool.
And I think it's really important. I don't think it's just physical healing. I think it's also mental healing. Like he's
No,
not
exactly. That's
taking
he's talking
care of
about both.
himself. Yeah.
Mhm. Exactly. No, he's talking about both.
I I was really impressed between both of these books that Batman comes out of this being like remotely sympathetic at all. Because it is one of those stories that again is all about whether or not Batman is uh, causing more problems than he's solving, and it's about whether he is like maybe his own worst enemy, and how much does he actually enjoy hurting criminals? We get into that. Uh, is the Joker Batman relationship kind of in a weird way like an unhealthy romance? Like we get into that whole thing, and it turns back around, and uh, it gets real kind of heartwarming by the end of this, where I feel like it takes both books before I really fully understand this Batman. And
Mhm.
and I like that. Like I'm so riveted by what's going on. I'm trusting it, and I don't feel like it's ever veering into like an all-star direction or something where this is a Batman that's just an absolute horrible person. Like it's it's checking itself where there's places in the first book where everyone around him is going, you're going way too far, you've lost yourself, what is wrong with you? And in an interesting way, it's actually setting up for the Nightfall stuff without you realizing it, because again, that's what Nightfall was all about. He's burnt out, he's pushed himself too far, he really needs to take care of himself, he really needs to rest. And not only is he um like like physically, and now I'm doing what you're doing, mentally and physically spent, and is probably going to get killed at some point because he doesn't have all of his faculties about him. But he's also impatient and has a temper and could lose himself at any moment. And you get into the end of this, and I really like the dialogue about how Batman at some point isn't still fighting crime because of a vow he made to his parents. He's doing it for his self-made family.
Mhm.
And you really see the humanity in the man, and you see like how misguided and flawed he's been in that pursuit, and how he's accidentally made the whole world revolve around him, and like that's the problem. And Nightfall is also about that. It's about how Batman won't rely on anybody. And so
Mhm.
when you get to the end of this, you realize that I like there maybe was a point in the idea of Batman sharing his technology with the police department and acting more with the cops rather than going alongside them, uh, and all of that. And that's kind of where it lands by the end. And I don't think it's saying Batman should have always been a cop,
Mhm.
but there's
No,
just
I
kind
think
of
it.
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. I think it says, this is Napier's point, this is Batman's point, and we find a middle ground, which is ultimately what Harley was saying from the beginning, which is that you two have to work together, and that's how you truly save Gotham.
That's
Uh,
right. The yin yang thing is important. Like you do have to have um the the dark side to um so that you can even understand the light side. I so you're right. Like it is all about that balance.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. And I think especially with the family stuff here, you have at the end of the first book that kind of big moment, um, with Bruce talking to his kids, basically with Barbara and Dick, and then we really build on that with both. There's the scene with him and Harley where he's talking about how, when you're an orphan, you don't have the luxury of having family, so you make yours. And then you have that really good moment with Dick later on, where Bruce has decided he's going to kill Azrael, and Dick's like, "Look, you're my dad. Like, I don't want to watch you become everything you're not supposed to be. Like, I don't want to see you fall like that." And like all that stuff is just so fantastic.
And I get really tired of the should Batman kill question, and
Hmm.
it's kind of made fresh again here. Like I did when we get into that big Azrael fight and we're doing the kind of will he or won't he kill him thing. I did kind of have a split second where I was like, okay, here we go again, and it's kind of like what I had the first time I saw Under the Red Hood, where I was like, okay, I'm really tired of this Batman ending, and then it kind of brought something new to the table. Um, I like
Hmm.
that he comes up with. I like that at first he's fully intending on killing him, and then I because it's like a kamikaze mission. He's not planning on coming back from it. He's going. There's nowhere to go after I've outed myself as Batman, and I don't really care about my legacy anymore. And then the whole reason he's been doing this is for his family, so they care, and so he realizes that he should also. And I like that he's resourceful and he comes up with a way to get out of that situation without having to kill Azrael. As brutal as it is, and it does have that uh, you got lucky component.
Yes.
You and I have talked about this with a lot of things where it's like, so because you decided not to kill this guy, he didn't die, but like you went for a fatal blow and then just hoped that retroactively you could patch him up and it worked. Thank goodness, I guess.
And we went full Arkham Origins. No, exactly. I mean, it's also cool in that the kind of build up for that is that we combine Nightfall with Killing Joke,
Yeah.
where Azrael breaks Batgirl's back.
Yeah, she comes back from it real quick though. One
We
criticism
did
I
her
would
whole history very fast.
in about 3 days. Yeah, I one criticism I would have of this is, and again, like it's comics, so you just have to kind of establish the rules that don't necessarily have to be realistic. And I guess he's kind of consistent with it. I feel like people come back from injuries too quickly, and that's one of them. Like Barbara's in a wheelchair, and you think she's probably crippled, like she is in Killing Joke, and obviously the wheelchair is a nod to that, but we're not actually going to stick with it because we want to put her back in the Batgirl suit by the end of this. And she goes to physical therapy, and Batman is like shocked that she's even able to walk at all. Like the doctor's acting like she might never walk again. She's having some physical therapy. She's walking. She's back in her Batgirl suit at the end, and it's like she's not even on a cane or anything. And I'm like, wait, how much time has passed? It can't have been very much. And then we have a thing with Harley Quinn where she gets injured, and Batman says that she's got a cracked rib. And then that never comes up again. And like a page after you have a cracked rib, unless he's talking about himself, but I think he's talking about her. And either way, they're both moving too well. So like somebody's got a cracked rib and shouldn't be able to move as well as they are. But then he goes, Harley Quinn, go suit up, like in your Harley Quinn costume. And I'm like, at first I'm thinking, she's got a cracked rib. I don't know how she's even changing clothes, much less fighting. And then they run into Arkham, and she ends up killing the Joker, and she's got a cracked rib. You'd never know it.
To be fair, she doesn't really do anything when they're in Arkham. But yes, I did think that was funny too. That they're like,
yeah,
you have a cracked rib, you're coming with me.
Like, tell me I'm nitpicking, but just poses and stuff she's doing, I'm going, you've got a cracked rib. I don't know how you're standing like that.
Well, if you could hear her, she'd be like, ugh! You just wouldn't put that in the dialogue.
Oh, okay.
But the barber one is kind of silly. The only explanation for that is Batman goes, well, you're Gordon. Of course you're still standing.
It feels like we did Killing Joke and New 52 Batgirl within like 3 issues.
That's what I'm saying. We did her whole history in a speed run. She broke her back and then immediately was better.
He faked me out really well with both of those things. I thought Gordon was gonna bounce back because we do the thing where and his death is real tragic, and I think just wonderfully handled.
It's one of my favorite pages in the book is Batman hugging his corpse.
That's really sad, and I love Gordon kind of pouring his heart out, like apologizing to Batman, pouring his heart out, not realizing that he's talking to Azrael, who's wearing his batsuit. Is he wearing his batsuit for the first time?
He's wearing...
Or is it his,
no, it's the Azrael
suit?
It's the Azrael
but just
suit,
the silhouette
like
looks enough like Batman that Gordon thinks he's talking to Batman. And you get this wonderful panel. I'm not going to scroll back for it, but we've probably seen it already, where he shakes what he thinks is Batman's hand, and it's Azrael's hand. That's one of the coolest panel reveals I've seen in a while. Mm-hmm. That really got me.
It really shocked me. I was like, "Oh my god!"
That hurt my feelings.
Then I was like, "Wait a minute, is he about to die?"
and then you cut to another scene, and he makes you wait for it. He's got such a good sense of pacing. He teases you in just the right kinds of ways, where it's not gimmicky. You don't feel like you're being screwed with. It feels like just good storytelling, where it's like, okay, no wait, I'll come back to that. Don't worry. And it's not like the Walking Dead TV thing where you have to wait like a whole episode following somebody else before you get back to it. It's like a couple of pages. And then but we end it with him like lying, bleeding, looking like he might be dying on the street. And very often when we do that, when we don't make it like real clear whether a character has lived or died, you're gonna see them in a hospital bed in the next issue, or they're gonna be like, wheeled on a stretcher or something. And you get to the next issue, and they're trying to resuscitate him, and then no, he's dead. So like there is a question even in the next issue for a minute if he's gonna make it. I think, if memory serves, and then Bullock or somebody's just like, no, he's dead, and I'm like, I really didn't think we were gonna kill him. I thought he'd stick around.
Yeah, I think it comes from Bruce going to see Leslie Tompkins.
Oh,
Uh,
that's what it is.
where she's like, "Oh, you let her Batman, like you shouldn't have done that," and Batman's like, "Yeah, whatever." And she's like, "No, but like, what if it's an issue?" And he's like, "Ah, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna have my identity long anyways." And she's like, "Oh, and he's like, "Look, Gordon is dead," and like collapses to his knees. It's a really good moment.
God, it's really sad. And so he fakes me out with that, and then when we go to Batgirl, where she and who goes with her? Is it Nightwing?
Bullock, which
No, it's
would
Bullock.
add
That's what it
which
is.
would add to your injury thing because he gets shot in the scene beforehand in the arm,
I
and
forgot
he's
about
just like,
that.
He's like, "Let's do it. Let's go kill these bastards."
Yeah, Bullock is somewhat responsible for what happens to her.
Hmm.
But I
Yes.
then that faked me out the other direction because I went, okay, well, this is this out of continuity thing. Anything could happen. We killed off Gordon. Maybe we're gonna kill her off now. And then we didn't. We did the thing that I thought we were gonna do with Gordon. So he faked me out twice with that.
Well, I didn't know where we were going. I was like, "There's a solid chance you could kill Azrael." Like, we don't know about the Asbats thing
That's
yet.
true too. Yeah.
Uh, like, all we know is that the Joker hired him to be like a thug. Like, she could kill him in this scene.
Okay, the reason that never occurred to me though, I really thought, like I said earlier, I was pretty positive we would have a big Batman Azrael showdown at the end of this. It's like the only thing I called, and the reason, or part of the reason, is because the Ruth character mentions that when we kill Batman, we have to replace Batman.
But I think that comes after.
No, no, that's pretty early.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that idea is real early. Where her whole master plan is. We haven't even talked about the Batman. What do they call it? The fund for like Batman damage that's like $1 billion, and like that's what they're after. That's why they're doing all of this, and
Mhm.
so they're like, well, the whole point is for us to be able to get our hands on that money. There has to be a Batman uh, for their to keep putting money in this pot for when there's for when Batman's caused damage. And then the idea is that whole thing is corrupt, and the elite have been. I love how they just refer to them as the elite. You don't know who any of these people are, and they're just stealing from that. And so she's like, well, we can get our hands on that indefinitely, but there has to be a Batman. I think that comes up maybe even in the scene where she goes to Azrael in the first place.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think
that might be.
it's really early.
Hmm. Oh, okay, that might have just slipped over my head, like at first, until we got to like the full Asbats suit where he fights Bane.
But yeah, that's why I thought we were kind of playing out the whole Nightfall thing,
Hmm. No, I mean that's fair.
and I kept waiting for it. Like I was excited to get him into that suit because I knew it was coming.
Well, I think I kept going. I'm like, okay, like it's super cool that this isn't just White Knight was popular. We got to do that again. But there was still that part in the back of my head that was like, no, no, it's gonna come. Just give it time. Just it's building to it, but we're gonna get to that point.
Bob the Hunt and Dan Schneider both in the comments are saying that what we just talked about with Gordon sounds like a ripoff of the scene where X-24 kills Xavier. It's not like that at all.
No, like if you were to boil them down to like the barest of bones, like you could say they're the same scene, but like in how they're executed, I don't think they really play the same at all.
I hear what they're saying because it's like you think it's one character and it turns out to be somebody else. But
Yeah, it's kind of all it is. That's what I mean by like if you were to like really boil them down, yes, but I don't think it really is.
I was really excited by superficial fan servicey things Austin. There's really good fan service in this for me. Like Asbat with his tiny bat shurikens that he shoots out of his fists. I'm glad we brought that back, and it's the right
They
symbol.
gave him laser pointers.
Yeah, he's got those too, but he's got the Azrael Batman symbols in his shuriken. I I was
And when he
really
takes
excited we
over the
did that.
bat signal, it's also the Nightfall signal that you have the tattoo of.
Oh, I missed that. Is it really?
Mhm. Yeah, like it's like the thinner
Yeah, 'cause that's what the
looking
shuriken
one.
are.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about the '89 Batmobile and how Murphy loves it so much it's almost like fetishized, which I can get behind. It's my favorite car, and I just love that Batman Goes is my favorite. And I'm like, Sean Murphy speaking my language. So not only does it turn into a boat, which is awesome. It's got this like separation thing in the middle of it where the front can just flip around. Now it's a boat.
Well, and the fins flip around and now they're a boat motor.
It's wonderful.
It's
I
so preposterous that it's funny.
when he is so they use that as the big set piece at the end. I is the idea that the flood has started, or are they on just water somewhere?
No, so they're at a dam. So
Okay. I wasn't sure where we are when that was happening.
yeah, so Asbats is going to flood the city by blowing up the dam, and then Batman, like, while flying through the air as his Batmobile is turning into a boat, he shoots a rocket that hits Asbats' rocket,
Okay, that's
so he
what it
doesn't
was.
blow the dam. Yeah.
I wish I'd had time to go back through and give this another read through. I'm feeling a little bit haphazard because there's a lot that happens in this, and I finished it just
And
before we started.
we read two. Would this be maxi or it's still miniseries? Because it's 8 issues each.
It's somewhere, it's
It's
sort
like
of
in
like
the
a
middle.
sort of like long novellas that could be short novels. I don't know.
It's a min-axi.
But that becomes the big set piece for the fight with that. Oh, you're right. The bat symbol is the Asbat symbol. Murphy's the best. Anyway, I love him.
Next, when that happened, I was like, "Oh man, Cat must have lost it when you hit the bat signal and it's that
No, I
symbol."
missed that. That's so cool. Yes, I do have a tattoo of that. So anyway, they're fighting on the '89 car as a boat. 8-year-old me is having a heart attack. It's so freaking cool. And then the coolest thing I've ever seen in a Batman comic happens. Do you know what I'm going to say?
I don't offhand.
So it's the '89 Batmobile, not just in the look of it, but in everything it does except turning into a boat.
It's even got the machine guns. Yeah.
It's still got the machine guns, and I was not expecting this, but it does the shields. And when Batman
Okay.
says shields, I went, that's so freaking cool, like that it even has that. And then the shields start to come up, and Batman uses the shields on the '89 car as a boat to crush Azrael's helmet. Like, it gets stuck inside the shields, and he's trying to get it out, and he has to pull his head out of the helmet and then keep fighting Batman after that. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen in a Batman comic.
So I didn't have that. I was like, that is like the funniest Looney Tunes gag. That he catches him by like closing the shields on his head.
I'm just predictable. That's how much of an '89 fan I am, man. Like, I
No, that's fair.
I didn't expect the shields to come up, and then he uses them as a weapon. That's so freaking
Yeah.
cool.
No, it was really funny.
That made me very happy.
Hmm.
Hey,
No, that was a good bit.
just jumping around. Do you think Harley Quinn has twins? I mean, there's obvious pretentious like thematic stuff we can go to with the like Joker Jack Napier of it all.
Mhm.
but I couldn't help but think that part of the reason she has twins is because of her hyenas. Like
I
Harley's
also had that
babies
thought.
are hyenas, and so when she has babies, naturally she has to have twins.
I had that exact thought. It is definitely supposed to be a Joker Jack Napier thing, which we mentioned, but I also thought of the hyenas. And I mean, they're also in this too. Maybe she also has two hyenas because of that.
I thought it was weird when there's the occasional stray eyebrow raising line to me.
Mhm.
Batman walks in while she's got her hyenas and she says, "I'm the only person you can't sneak up on." And I'm like, "No, you're not."
Well, that's a callback to the first one
Is
too.
it?
Yeah, I think she says it at the end.
She says she's the only person he can't sneak up on?
I think that's when she tells him that she was behind everything. That is a callback.
Oh, okay. Okay, but I just don't buy that physically. Like, yeah, maybe if you have your hyenas with you, but I just don't buy that Batman can't sneak up on Harley Quinn. That just, as an idea, doesn't make any sense in my brain.
I don't know. It was a cool guy line.
He's Batman. Yeah, no, that's fair.
That scene though,
I'm
the
massively
funniest thing about that
nitpicking.
scene,
Sorry.
the funniest thing about that scene to me though is because I am like eagle-eyed when I'm watching TV shows when somebody's pregnant and like we do like the obvious like oh they're holding a big bag or like something and it's because as a kid my mom always pointed that stuff out to me. So it's like whenever it happens in a TV show I'm like oh that person's pregnant. Uh, I laughed so hard in this because we do that with Harley in this comic, but you would never be able to tell because it's a comic. So like it's different, but she's holding like a newspaper over her pregnant stomach.
That's hilarious.
I was like, that's great.
I that threw me off because I mistakenly thought that this story took place more shortly after the first one than it does. I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I guess it's months later." I thought it was like directly after.
No, and I had that too, where it must be 9 months because she gives birth like 6 scenes later.
And just after that people start referring to the events of the last book as last year, but before that it felt like it could have been like a week after.
hmm Yeah, absolutely.
I kind of wish he'd made that a little bit clearer.
hmm
Even just on page one, say 9 months later. I mean, it'd be
Yeah,
fine to just come out and give us a timestamp.
do it for like one panel each, just one. Or sorry, nine. I didn't even get it right on the first part. 9 months later. There you go. The Harley thing too, with her, with that line, that could also be part of that. Like we're building a romance between Batman and Harley in this.
I wondered about that.
hmm That might be part of it. Because I also don't think it's literal because he also sneaks up on her like an issue later.
I was glad that they didn't go full tilt with that, where there's this kind of ambiguous feeling of the you could see those characters sometime down the line maybe getting together, and it's kind of impressive that he makes me buy I could see those characters getting together, but not like now. It would have to be way later. Like she just gave birth, she just had to shoot her lover in cold blood.
Baby's out.
Like,
Oh yeah, that too.
oh, Austin. And I like that she does it with the long 89 gun. That's pretty great.
Yeah, that was cool. He loves that 89 gun because
It's
it
in the
is
first one.
in this book a lot.
It's in a background shot in the first book, and I was like, oh, that's cool. We have a reference to it. And then here, the Joker's got that gun from the very beginning. It's also funny to me. So I would love to talk to Tom Murphy. I like
Sean Murphy.
what's that?
Sean Murphy.
Sean Murphy. I don't know why I said Tom Murphy. Tom Murphy, I think, is one of our subscribers.
Tom King.
Sean Murphy, I would love to talk to and ask him about lots of things with this. But I wonder if he is aware because it took me, despite how many times I've seen 89, forever before I realized this. is he aware that that gun telescopes? Because you only ever see it long. And you'd think that the Joker would, just for practical reasons, be carrying it around small most of the time, and then when he's going to use it, you kaleidoscope it out. But he only ever has it long, and Harley has it long when she uses it, and it never kaleidoscopes.
Yeah, no, it's always long. And there's a part where I think somebody throws it, and he's like, "Hey, don't mess with that. That's a classic."
I think it's odd that White Knight Batman has a very particular look with his suit, and he's got that big, almost like Earth One collar.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Earth One that has
Yeah,
a collar? There's
it's
something that's got a
not.
collar like that. That's got a collar like that.
I'm trying to think what has a collar like that. I think does Gotham by Gaslight have that?
It does, but there's something more recent that does.
Because
Um,
the like my
maybe
mind's
no,
going to the
maybe
Batman like that
Noel
has
does
it.
it. I might be thinking of that.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, Bermejo might do a count.
But anyway, the point I'm making is he's got a very specific original look for his Batman. It's got its own bat symbol. It's got a real thick belt. A lot of the other characters are. I mean, some of them have kind of original suits, but some of them are just more kind of traditional regular comic book suits. I think it's kind of interesting that he's sort of inconsistent about that.
Yeah, well, I feel like yeah, Nightwing and
Batgirl's got a real
Batgirl,
look.
yeah, like they got looks that are very like reminiscent of stuff, but
Nightwing's is
Batman,
almost right out of New Adventures.
sure,
It's real
yeah.
similar to that, which makes sense
Well,
because this almost goes straight to what is the name of that episode?
Over the
Over
Edge,
the Edge, yeah, which he's
yeah.
featured in.
Well, I feel like Batman's more like a hodgepodge of different elements. Like he's got like the original like purple gloves, but they're just not purple; they're just black. But like they
That's
have that
true.
kind of look.
Yeah, he's
But then
got
you have Killer Croc, who's very different. Like you have characters like that.
Killer Croc looks like a Todd McFarlane character in this.
He's crazy.
Like
He
he's
looks
got
like the
the
Lego Batman Killer Croc.
well, he's got the like Malbolgia underbite thing going on.
Hmm. That's true too. Yeah, I was just thinking, and by Lego Batman, I mean specifically the movie, not the
Yes.
games or just like Legos, but like where he just has like the like classic Lego crocodile head. He's got
I
that going
the
on.
the first book, and I probably mentioned this when I reviewed this a few years ago, but the first book cracked me up the first time I read it because the opening scene with the argument that Batman and Joker have in the car, uh, is exactly the same thing as the opening of the Lego Batman movie, but done more seriously, where Joker has the like "you complete me" speech, and then Batman is just completely dismissing him. Like it's the exact same conversation.
That's true. Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
I missed a super chat from quite a while earlier. Apologies. Gray999 had a $2 super chat and says, "Why hasn't a GCPD cop killed Joker in custody yet?" I think the answer to that is the
Comic
Joker
books.
is is always playing five-dimensional chess, and he you can't sneak up on him either, and some random GCPD cop has no chance against the Joker, even if the Joker is sleeping. Like the Joker is only ever in Arkham when he wants to be. You can't hold him. We talk about Batman like that with this, where it's like he's gonna be taken into custody because of all the laws he's broken once everybody knows that he's Batman. And it's like no prison can hold him. I mean, the same is kind of true of the Joker.
Mm. Yeah, but I think that's just like one of those things where people are like, why doesn't he just they just like kill him while he's handcuffed? Whatever, police brutality. Like he's the Joker. Who cares? And it's I don't know. You don't get stories if you do that.
I appreciated all of the thoughtful arguments, the kind of pros and cons about whether Batman should uh, reveal his identity and all of the like negative consequences that you'd have to that. The book Austin made me not sure where I even came down on it. Where I'm like, just with the situation as it is, would it be worse for everybody he cares about if he were to give that up? But I thought the argument that didn't sit real well with me was the idea that all of these people would suddenly sue the police department for working with Batman once they found out that like who Batman was, because you have an argument before the first book when there's no clear evidence that they're working with Batman. They have video evidence now that
So they could do it
Gordon has
anyways.
been working with Batman, so they could do that anyway. Why does it matter whether you know his identity or not?
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. Um, no, and I mean, at the end of the book, it's
It's also
probably
weird that
okay.
doesn't come up at the end when it happens.
Mhm. Well, I think it doesn't matter anymore because all of his villains are dead anyways. Who's
There's
gonna come
that.
after them?
Well, and maybe it's also that situation of yeah, but he saved the city, and all the citizens, or most of them at least, are probably behind him, and they proved it because they got off the streets when he told them to. So maybe that whole situation is cleared up well enough just by virtue of there being this big Azrael plot that he had to stop.
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like you could really get into that. If this is the aftermath of White Knight, you could have the aftermath of the aftermath and really get into that stuff. So I wonder if they really do, because the next one is Beyond. So obviously you're gonna have a giant time skip. But I could also see that flashing back and forth.
Yeah, I wonder if it will. That's a good question. I mean, the first two books have somewhat different formats, right? In that
Mm.
several issues of this open flashing back to either the 1600s or Barbara Gordon's childhood. That stuff was real touching, by the way. That speech. I just as an aside, real quick. That speech that Gordon has to Barbara about how there's like everybody else's rules, and then there's the rules that we give ourselves. And if somebody punches you, you punch him back harder. And you're a fighter. You're more like me. You're not a princess like your mom wants you to be. I loved that scene.
Hmm. Yeah, he's got a really good voice for like family stuff. Like everything with
Hmm.
Alfred and Bruce in the first one is just really great, and you get that a lot with different characters in this one.
Oh, I have a question about Alfred because
Yes,
even on a second read, I couldn't tell. Does he die of McGregor syndrome like he almost does in Batman and Robin? Because McGregor syndrome comes up.
I think so. That was what I
Uh,
got from it.
because Murphy is cool and he remembers that, and so he makes that what Nora Freeze is dying of in this, and then Alfred also dies around the same time, and so I was thinking like it probably is the same thing, and also Mr. Freeze is involved in all of that.
And at the end of that book, when he shows up in the climax, he goes, "I'm all out of ice puns."
I love that. That was great.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that's what Alfred died from.
I was just wondering about that. Anyway, I can't remember what we were talking about.
This book is good.
No, it's really wonderful. I hate to speculate too much about the next one because it's out and you can read it, and I'm going to try to do that soon. But I do find myself wondering, like, oh, I remember what it was because we were talking about like whether or not that book will jump back and forth in time. And since we do so many flashbacks in this, I could see a different format for that book where it does take place between a couple of different time periods, or we do flashback to maybe events like just after this, or we go back to. like what Jason Todd was doing shortly after he faked his death. Um, my question to you is Batman Beyond Jason Todd as opposed to Terry McGinnis? Because that's my assumption, is that that's what we're setting up at the end of the book when he goes to see him, is that he's going to pass the mantle to him, and then that's who's Batman Beyond instead of Terry McGinnis.
See, I was thinking Tim Drake, like the Return of the Joker. Like that's how you get your kind of White Knight angle out of it.
Oh, maybe so. But what do you think we're doing with Jason Todd then, I guess is the question.
Like he would be like the Tim Drake. Like somehow he is Joker, is what I was thinking.
Okay, sorry, I'm confused. I'm not sure what we're
Like
talking about now.
in that Beyond book. You just mean like at the end of this one?
No, I'm saying who's in the Beyond suit.
Oh, I assumed it was just Terry McGinnis. Like
Oh, see, I'm not assuming that. I'm thinking it's Jason Todd.
See, I was thinking that Jason Todd would be what Tim Drake was in the Return of the Joker movie,
Okay.
where he is Joker.
But I don't see how Bruce going to him at the end of this sets that up.
But I didn't see that as setup. Like, I thought that it was just kind of the payoff of now they finally get back together.
Oh, see, I'm assuming that's the thing that sets up Beyond, because there's no other dangling threads, and the end of the last book turned out to be setting this up quite nicely.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's just I didn't see it as like a dangling thread, like until you mentioned it that way. Where to me that was the payoff for the last dangling thread of White Knight, which is that Jason is still alive and out there somewhere, and
Yeah,
this is that
no, that's
moment where
true.
Batman gets to have that final moment of like, like I'm sorry of what I did to you. Like this is where they get to have their finality, is what I read that as.
Yeah, part of the reason, and I could be totally off base with that. I also don't know how far into the future that takes place.
Hmm.
So I mean, like, you'd be really reinventing the Batman Beyond idea, but you can do that, and he's reinventing a lot of stuff anyway. But you'd have a Jason Todd in the Beyond suit that was like in his 40s or something, or even older, and he kind of looks that old at the end of this, but like he probably isn't. He's probably like, I don't know, 30 or something.
See, I was thinking he's probably
Oh, I'm
like
wrong.
he's
Okay, Captain Coon said it actually is Terry McGinnis. I'm really surprised by that.
yeah, especially because he seems to really
If
love
I suck at
his.
Austin, you win again.
I mean, I'm half right. I was wrong about who the Joker is, but I was right that there is a this person is the Joker now.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see if they win me over. I kind of wish they weren't just adapting Return of the Joker, but
Hmm. Yeah, maybe it's
maybe it'll
done
be
better.
maybe it'll be great. I mean, I like that
It's also a
movie.
completely different, like dynamic between them.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, man, I didn't call
So,
that at all. Just knowing that Beyond book was coming, I was like, and I also thought that because he's streamlining the Bat family so much,
hmm
like he doesn't
yeah.
have all these extra characters. I like he's got Duke Thomas, but he's just a cop. This is the only time I've liked that character.
So I think a big thing too is I wasn't reading this as okay, and now we get the third one. Uh, like I think by the end of this book, like it feels like this is the ending, which
Yeah,
is why the next one is beyond because it's like okay, we're jumping forward and we have a different story now.
yeah, sure.
So like by the end, I didn't really feel like there was any dangling threads left.
Oh, Captain Coon says we misread that. He says nobody becomes the Joker. It's just that Jack is in Bruce's head, like Joker in Arkham Knight.
Oh, okay,
Oh, that could work. That could be fine.
interesting.
Yeah,
So I am correct in that Sean Murphy was like deeply offended by Arkham Knight and was like, I can do that better then, right?
that's sure what it seems like. Yep, he made that better in every conceivable way.
Maybe not deeply offended. That's probably going too far.
Why couldn't Arkham Knight have just been Jean Paul Valley?
Well, and that's clearly not that specifically, but that's clearly one of the big things that City is setting up is for him to be a big player.
Yeah, and if you're gonna do all those flashbacks with Jason Todd, that needs to be a red herring because if Arkham Knight turns out to just be Jason Todd, then you're like, well, gee, I'm so surprised. We've been doing all this talk this whole time about Robin getting killed with a crowbar by the Joker. Meanwhile, never came up in the other two games at all.
No, he should have been like, I'm John Paul Valia. I'm also actually a Wayne, unlike you, Batman. And then Batman's like, oh, well, guess I'll end.
There's a scene right at the start of Arkham City if you play the Catwoman content where I can't remember who it is, like some Batman's holding somebody in a real similar. Oh no, I remember what it is. It's not Batman. There's a painting
Yes,
of
and it's
of somebody holding someone that looks a lot like that cover. That's like Batman with the dead Robin draped over him. That's the closest thing you get to a reference to that.
well, and that's specifically only paralleling the ending. Because
Yeah,
that's the first shot of the game, and then the last shot of the game is Batman carrying Joker out like that.
yeah, no, you're right. Like that's what it ends up referencing. But the first time I played it, not knowing what the ending was, I was like, for some reason, we seem to be referencing Death in the Family, but we weren't.
No, because is there anything that City sets up that is paid off well in Night? Because it's like you have the Hush thing.
I don't think so.
It's not paid off well. Um, you can like kind of argue the Clayface thing because a lot of people thought that was setting up something. Uh, there's like the whole weird Joker baby thing, and also kind of Damien set up in City. Like I think there's like a weird legacy thing kind of being set up there.
Yeah, Captain Coon, you're right that was, and I just forgot about it. That was supposed to be a Cain and Abel painting, but obviously that was supposed to parallel Batman and Joker, which is interesting because that's referenced here also.
That is true. That is true.
Okay, we're at 2 hours. What else do you want to say about this, Austin?
So recently, I've been extremely happy. Here, I get Azrael decapitating Bane. Like a month ago, I get Killer Croc kicking Bane's ass, an absolute, and I'm like, yes, payback for Bane breaking his arms at Nightfall. But then Killer Croc is tragically also killed, so that did not make me happy.
Yeah, but I mean, you couldn't have expected the last of these to be a Killer Croc book. Like
Absolutely.
he can kill off anybody he's not going to use.
No, Killer Croc is the main villain now.
That was another thing that where I had a lot of respect for Murphy because he's not concerned about keeping stuff around so he can milk this forever. Like you kind of alluded to earlier, when I first saw there was a sequel to this, I really thought, and I'm saying this retroactively, but I really thought it was like a Last Ronin thing where it's like, well, that was too popular, so of course we have to, do obligatory sequels to it. And this, like you said, feels like he, even if he didn't plan this all along, he sure dupes you into thinking he did. It really feels like Batman's story is not done once you've, or wasn't done in the first book once you've read this. Like this feels not just not obligatory, but necessary, important. Like if you read the first book and you haven't read this, you should because it's the rest of it. I hope Beyond feels like that again. I don't know that it can. But I really hope that I get into that and I go, oh yeah, no, it is an honest to God trilogy, and it feels like you always need a Beyond also.
Maybe. See, I feel like that should be like a nice epilogue where it's like we had the story, and then here's this new story that just kind of goes after it.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
it could
that.
work
That
either
is the
way.
true sequel. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and if that is the case, you then have a trilogy where you have a different protagonist each book,
Right. That can work
which is
too.
kind of cool.
But he's just got a real
Oh,
good handle on story structure like that.
absolutely. Yeah. The big thing that Beyond has to have, though, is the main villain has to have Mad Hatter as his tech guy.
Yeah, because Mad
Because
Hatter's
that is the one weird like thing that is in both.
Yeah, it's very strange.
He must just really like Mad Hatter.
I don't understand how in the first book, uh, Harley Quinn, or sorry, evil Harley Quinn, Neo Joker, uh,
Mhm.
which is a goofy name. Only in comics can you get away with Neo Joker.
Well, and
Um,
she has like the stupidest look that, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like it's just funny, where it's like a frown here and a smile here, like on her face.
no, it's great. He loves her, like he hates that character, like that version of Harley Quinn, and everything that doesn't work about her, it kind of works in this. And I say that like he's throwing her under the bus in the sense that he's splitting them and he's making a really great character, like a really great likable character, albeit somewhat tragic and misguided, out of the real Harley Quinn. But he makes her a like sufficiently cool villain.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's true.
Now we're just going back and reviewing that. But I don't understand why she knows how Mad Hatter's mind control device works better than Mad Hatter does. Like I don't understand how she understands that better than Mad Hatter does, because there's a part where uh, she's using it to control Poison Ivy or somebody, and she like telepathically gets information from that character because she is using Mad Hatter's mind control device, and Mad Hatter himself asks her, "How do you know that?" And she's like, "I got it from the mind control device." And I'm like, he should know that though.
Oh, unless he just means like that's something only I knew that I could do. Like, how do you know that?
Maybe that's not how it played to me. I thought he was saying, "How do you know that information?" He's like, "Because I'm using this thing that you invented. You should probably know that it's telepathic."
Yeah, because it could just be like, hey, like I made that. Nobody knows that I can do that except me. Hey,
Maybe that's what it
something like
meant.
that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look back at that moment again.
Anyway, well, I I love these. They're wonderful. Everyone should read them.
Exactly.
And when I suggested off camera that Murphy uh, should have gotten the Batman book, like I'm surprised that they didn't offer it to him just because this was popular and he clearly has good ideas with Batman. Um, I think if he got an ongoing Batman book, he would do the exact opposite of this. I get the
It's
sense
possible.
with his sensibilities and just with his writing style, he just seems like a really intelligent guy. I think he would be keen enough. I think he would be smart enough to not do giant sweeping retconny crazy changes in the main book. Like we discussed whether or not some of this could work there. That's not me saying I think that's what he would have done. I think he would do more likely classic smaller detective stories and not rock the boat that much. I think that's what he would do with a mainstream Batman book.
I mean, it's also possible if they did offer it to him that he was like, that book sucks to be on because editorial's like very strict on that.
Yeah, and I'm over here playing in the sandbox. Nobody's gonna screw with me.
Exactly. Like I can, I'll just be over here doing my own thing. I could see that.
Yeah, but I can see him accepting like a Dark Patterns kind of book.
Sure. Yeah.
Where like it's maybe in continuity. It doesn't matter if it is or not. It's only gonna be 12 issues.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of whatever. Just here's some Batman stories.
But I hope he gets to come back and work on the character that it's not necessarily this universe. Like I'd love to see what he would do with a more traditional Batman.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd love to see just whatever he works on next. Like even if it's a different character.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think he's a really solid writer.
Hmm.
And again, that's
Yeah, exactly.
impressive because he's such a good artist. Like we didn't talk enough about the art, but like I love his pencil style.
And I don't think he's written much. Like I think he's written. I don't think that the first book is his first writing credit, but I don't think he's had many writing credits before it. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's wild that he's this competent of a writer
Hmm.
when his main gig has been drawing.
I think he's also worked with like a lot of really cool writers too. So like I think he's worked with Morrison and like Jason Aaron
Oh,
and stuff.
really?
So maybe he's just and I think he did stuff with Scott Snyder too. So it's like I feel like it could also just be like, okay, I've worked with all these writers and kind of seen like what I like about what they do.
Just a lot of good on the
And
job
then
training.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, anything else you want to mention, Austin?
No.
Last thing I'll say real quick because I meant to bring this up just as another accolade with this book. Um, I don't like I complain about this all the time, but I don't like that we've pushed for the regular price of comics to be $5 now, and this was like just before that was happening, and so these are at that price point during a time when most things are at 4, and there are few books that feel like you're getting as much bang for your $5 as this.
Mm, that's fair.
I really appreciate finishing a comic and feeling satisfied that you spent that much on an issue. It's cool.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it didn't take you 5 minutes to read it.
Hmm. And the art is just really pretty. We feel
Hmm.
like it was worth it for that, and it feels kind of beefed up. Like there's pinups in these. I showed some of them as we went through, but there's some really poster worthy stuff with this book.
Well, it was interesting to me seeing that the Asbat suit through not like 90s art.
Yeah, because that never gets drawn anymore.
Hmm. Well, and that's so much just a parody of that stuff. Like it's so weird seeing it in a different style.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Where like it feels like they're making fun of like the image guys. And I mean, they were, but like it is weird seeing it now where it's like,
Oh,
oh,
I see what you're
we're
saying. You're saying the Asbat suit itself was a parody, where it's just so
Mhm.
overblown, and this is trying to make it cool in its own right.
Well, it's just seeing it through a different lens where like the art
Hmm.
doesn't look like that stuff anymore. Like it's just here's the suit in a completely different style.
Yeah, no, that's true. But it is authentically that suit. He hasn't really done too much to it. Like it's
Yeah,
still
no,
got
it
the
is exactly.
yeah, yeah. It's like I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, it's still got the stupid jagged points on the boots that are just totally impractical.
Yep, and it's got like the claw hands and everything.
2099 had those too. The boot spikes and the claw hands.
Oh, of course, those the '90s thing. That's something I don't understand, having not seen it. Of course, with that across the Spider-Verse joke, where it's like, "Oh, look at Scarlet Spider. He's like so '90s," and I'm like, "But he's in the same movie as 2099, who is the most '90s Spider-Man design."
Yeah, that's fair. But they just decided to make more of a joke about that being like his whole personality.
Mhm.
Where 2099 is at least for a bit kind of the villain of that piece. Like they're doing a different thing with him.
No, no, of course. I'm just saying, like, putting that stuff together, like, it's weird to me that you go, okay, this guy's going to be like the really hardcore '90s one, where I'm like, but design-wise, that guy is. But I'm not saying it like is an issue with the story or
No,
anything.
that no,
And
you're
just,
right about
that's
that.
just weird
They
to me.
they also they also changed up his suit pretty dramatically. Like
Mhm.
2099 in that movie is a bit of a different suit, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's okay. I'm a bit of a purist because I'm such a big fan of that suit. I
Mhm.
don't like how bulky he is.
Mhm.
Is part of it. I don't like the big broad shoulders on 2099.
He's got like the Crash Bandicoot build, doesn't he? Where he's like way more top heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it looks like he should fall over if he stands still for 5 seconds.
Maybe he does.
Yeah, that's why he's swinging all the time.
He's like a shark. If he stops moving, he dies.
No, that's not true. He actually stands around a lot in that movie, and he doesn't fall over it.
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay.
well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow night, I'm gonna be finally revealing Superhero Rewind the movie, so we won't have a live stream, but we will be premiering the movie at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So that will be in place of any streams. And I hope you'll come and check it out. If not, while it's broadcasting after the fact, you'll be able to play it back, of course. And Austin and I will be back again next week with more fun stuff. The ReQuest we got to do next time, Austin, is a movie I've never heard of, and hopefully I can pronounce it. Vic Apocalypse asked us to do a kind of comedy drama film from 2008 that looks like it might be like kind of an indie thing. I'm not sure what it is, but it's called. I'm gonna do my best with this. I think it's probably pronounced Sinadoche, New York. It's like they made up the name of a town.
Oh, okay.
And so
I've never heard of that.
it's the name of this town and then a comma and then New York. That's the name of the film. It's Sinadoche, New York. I've never heard of this. I don't know what it is, but that's what we have to do for next time. And then right after that, we get to do more Batman stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, that reminds me, because the
Austin, in 2 weeks we have to do an audio drama.
Oh, we have to do the Batman one with Jeffrey Wright as Batman, don't we?
Yeah,
that'll be cool.
That'll be cool, and we've never done that before.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me with the Dan Schneider.
Yes, Dan Schneider. I don't
think you read the second.
I did get it
Super
written
Chat,
down.
but I could be wrong.
No, I didn't actually read it. I didn't. So I apologize. I didn't think to do that because I hit the first one and it was all about the this ReQuest. But he just said, "Here's the other $5." It won't let me send $15 anymore. It jumps me up to 20. But here it is. I think Austin will love it.
Cool.
Thanks for that. And yes, I got that on the list. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get going. Appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan. This was Austin the Day Ghost.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, folks.